Hi everyone, today we are going to talk about market, low demand and
the object, types of object, the direct object and indirect object. Hello my dear students, today I'm going to explain a new grammatical material. As you see from the screen that today's lesson is about the object, types of object, the direct object and indirect object. And first of all I would like to say that as you know that the object is it includes to the syntax branch of grammar. And you know that syntax studies the types of sentences, the structure of sentences, word combinations, etc. And the object is one of the secondary parts of sentence. First of all, I would like to give a general information about parts of sentences. So you know that parts of sentences are divided into two groups. Principal parts of sentence and secondary parts of sentences. Principal parts of sentences are subject and predicate, and the secondary parts of sentences are the attribute, the object, and the adverbial modifier. And as I said, one of the secondary parts of sentence is the object. Now let's begin to speak about object. You know that the object is a secondary part of sentence which refers to some other parts of sentence and expressed by a verb, an adjective, a stative, or very seldom an adverb, but it is possible. And an adverb, as I said, pronoun, noun, word combinations, even as quotations, they can express the object in the sentence. For example, as you see, we have some examples. For example, she has bought a car. In this sentence, a car is object, and in the sentence, as you see, the object is expressed by a car, and a car is a noun. And then next example, I'm glad to see you. To see you is an infinitive, and you see that I didn't say about it, but infinitive constructions, gerundial constructions can express the object in the sentence. She was afraid of the dog, and this is prepositional phrase, and he did it unexpectedly to himself, and to himself is, you see that it is a pronoun, and this is reflexive pronoun. Then ways of expressing the object. Now let's speak about more detailed information. The object can be expressed by a noun in the common case or nominal phrase, substantive-wise adjective or participle. I saw the boys 2 hours ago. I saw the boys. You see that the boys is in the common case, and this is a noun. The nurses were clad in gray. In gray, you see this is substantive-wise adjective, because you know that gray is adjective. First of all, she attended to the wounded. You see that the wounded is participle, and this is in the function of object in this sentence. Greedily, he snatched the bread and butter from the plate, and in this sentence the bread and butter they are nominal phrase. This is nominal phrase, and then they are taken as a whole whole unit in these sentences. And the next one is noun or pronoun. Noun pronouns, sorry, and personal pronouns are in the objective case. Other pronouns are in the common case or in the only form they have. You know that personal pronouns only when they are in objective case, they can be used as in the function of object in the sentence, but when they are in the nominal case, they are used in the function of subject in the sentences. And for example, now let's look through our samples. I don't know anybody here. Anybody here, anybody is indefinite pronoun, and this is used in the function of object here. The next one, I couldn't find my own car, but I saw hers around the corner. hers, you see that I have written in italic letters in order to differentiate these words from the others. And I saw hers. Hers is, you know, that possessive case, possessive pronoun. And this is absolute possessive pronoun, that it means that they are not followed by any noun in the sentences. He says he didn't know that. That is the demonstrative pronoun, and this is used in the function of object. As you see, object can mostly be expressed by the pronouns in the sentences, and even I can say that majority of pronouns, majority of types of pronouns can be used in the function of object in the sentences. And the third one, a numeral or a phrase with a numeral. And now let's look at our samples. At last, he found 3 of them high up in the hills, and you see 3 of them. They are numeral phrase, or in other words, we can say that a phrase with a numeral. The first one is a gerund or a gerundial phrase. As I said, infinitive phrases, gerundial phrases, they can easily be used in the function of object in the sentences. For example, he insists on coming, or a man is being run after. And additional, I would like to say that, you know, gerund, how to say, the main factor that differentiate gerund from participle is that gerunds are preceded by prepositions, and gerunds are used after some verbs that we, when we see that those verbs in the sentences, we can easily understand that the ing form, which is followed, which follows these verbs, are gerund. Okay, that is enough for them. And the fifth one, an infinitive or an infinitive phrase. And for example, I say she was glad to be walking with them. She was glad to be walking. As you see, to be walking with him is gerundial, infinitive construction. And to be walking, this is continuous. The infinitive is used in the continuous form, and this is in the function of object. And every day I had to learn how to spell pages of words in the sentences, how to spell pages of the words. This is infinitive construction, and after to learn, we can easily know that if any two construction with to or bare infinitive, they are followed by a verb, it means that they are used in the function of object. The sixth one, various predicative complexes. For example, I say she felt the child trembling with trembling all over, or trembling with cold, we can say easily, and she felt the child trembling. This is, I can say that this is object, and first of all I would like to say that this is complex object, and you see that, you know that for you know that sense perception verbs are, when they are used in the complex object, they require participle construction after object. I want it done at once. I want it done at once. This is done at once. This is used in the form of participle second, and this is in the function of object, as you see. Everything depends on your coming in time. Your coming in time in this sentence, this is predicative construction, we can say. We can use this predicative complex term or predicative constructions. And this is gerundial constructions in the sentence. For example, in the first sentence, child trembling all over, This is participle construction, which is used, and this is objective participle construction, I should mention it. The second one, I want it done advanced, and this is also participle construction, participle 2. And everything depends on your coming in time. And this is a gerundal construction, and which is used in the function of object. A clause, or then called an object clause, we'll call them, which makes the whole sentence a complex one. For example, I don't know what it was, or I can say more examples. For example, I say I don't know what your profession is, or I say I don't know where you study, or I can say, for example, I don't know when you will arrive. For example, arrive Nakjivan, etc. Or he thought of what he was to say to all of them. And these sentences are object clauses, and in our future lessons, we learn that object clauses. We learn the structure of object clauses, and we can. I think it would better begin to learn such types of sentences in order to differentiate some types of clauses. Then, now let's begin to speak about types of object and use from the point of view their value and grammatical peculiarities. The types of objects are 3: direct object, indirect object, and cognate object. First of all, I'd like to speak about direct object. And direct object is a non-propositional object, and that they are followed by transitive verbs and adjectives that follows the transitive verbs, not are followed, but we can say that they are preceded by transitive verbs, adjectives, or states, and complex their meaning. Semantically, it's usually a non-person, but sometimes direct object can be expressed by a, how to say, living beings. It can be, but in some rare cases it can happen, but we cannot say that only direct object is used with non-person notions. Not, it isn't, right? The situation is expressed by a verbal phrase, complex, or by a clause. For example, I wrote a poem. First of all, I would like to mention you to draw your attention to this point, that in order to find the direct object in the sentence, first of all, I can say that the easiest way to find the direct object in the sentence is to ask what question. For example, I say, I wrote a poem. At once, I should ask, what did I write? The answer is a poem, and a poem is direct object. The next one, for example, you like arguing, don't you? You like arguing. Okay, like is the act of liking, for example. What do I like? Arguing. And in this way, we can easily find the direct object. We can easily differ direct object from the indirect object. The next one, who saw him leave? Who saw him leave? Okay, I saw him leave. What did I saw? Him leave. And in this sentence, complex object this is, and this is direct object, because direct object is that we do any action, and we do this any action on anything, for example, and this how to say, this object is an object on which we do this action. For example, I say that I gave this book to her. I give very simple example in order you to understand very well, you to comprehend properly. I said I gave this book to him. Okay, I ask, I give. Okay, and this is the act of giving. And what did I give? That book. And to whom I give? To whom is indirect object, because we don't give to him. To him is a, how to say, it is a receiver of this action. But when we say this book is an object on which we how to say, we act this action, we do this action, we give it. I think you could catch what I mean. Then I don't know what it all means. I don't know. What don't I know? Sorry. She was ready to sing. What was she ready to sing? And that's why I think if you could achieve the easiest way to differentiate the direct object from indirect object by asking question what, you will manage to find the types of object you will find. Then when the direct object is expressed by an infinitive or an infinitive phrase or a clause, it may be preceded by the formal introductory object it. You know that it can be used as how to say, independent part of sentence in the sentence. For example, in the subject lesson, we learned that it can be used as a subject in 2 or 4 functions. One of them was a notional it. In this sentence, we use it only as a, how to say, personal pronoun. And for example, I say that her room is very dirty. It is in a mess. In the first sentence, I say her room. And in the second sentence, in order not to repeat the same word for a second time, in the sentence, I use it in order to substitute that word with another word. In this case, this is notional. Then or demonstrative pronoun as we can use. For example, I say, it's my book. I demonstrate that object and I call it with it. It is my room, it is my book, it's my purse, or something like that. And in the rest of in other cases, it can be used in 2 different functions as a subject. For example, I say, when we express any distance, miles, weather, in these cases, we can use, for example, I say, it is 5 kilometers away from university to our, how to say, to the hospital. In the sentence, it is used as impersonal it, and as an introductory subject. For example, in the sentences, it is followed by adjective generally. For example, I say, it is very impossible to stay at home in such a good weather, I can say. And in these types of sentences, it is used as a introductory subject. And this last one, it as the anticipatory or emphatic. Not anticipatory was the introductory, I confused it. And it as emphatic subject. For example, I say that it is you who always made me angry. For example, in the sentence, it is used as emphatic subject. And I find it exciting to watch tennis. And in the sentences, it is used as emphatic object. In the sentences, you say that this is only formal. It doesn't have any, how to say, notional meaning. Simply, it is introductory object. Here, I found it hard to believe that girl. Or I say that I found it very uninteresting to watch this film. Or I think that is enough for it. And direct object also follows verbs, but verbs, adjectives, and statives, unlike the direct object, however, it may be attached to intransitive verbs as well as to intransitive verbs. Besides, it may also be attached to adverbs, or also this is very rare cases. From the point of view of their semantics and their certain grammatical categories, characteristics, indirect object falls into 2 types. One of them is the indirect object of the first type is attached only to detransitive verbs, or we can say intransitive verbs. It's expressed by a noun or pronoun, which as a rule that denotes a person, which is the addressee or recipient of the action of the verb. As I said before, I said that if you paid attention to my speech, I said direct object is generally used, expressed by non-person, non-person notions, but on the contrary, the indirect object is expressed by person, because indirect object is the object that which is addressee, which is recipient of that action. But direct object is the is the object on which we do this action. And now let's look at. So it's convenient to call an object of this type the direct, indirect recipient object. As I said, recipient object is joined to the head word either without a preposition or by the preposition to. First of all, additional, I would like to say that indirect object, one of the easiest way to find indirect object in the sentence is to pay attention to the prepositions, because if any object is preceded by preposition, it means that this is indirect object, because direct object can never be preceded by prepositions. Only indirect objects can be used, can be, I'd say, preceded by prepositions, and they are called prepositional indirect object. And for example, he gave the kid $2. In the sentence, you should pay attention. For example, I say, he gave the kid $2. I gave, what did I give? $2. It means that $2 is direct object. And okay, to whom did I give $2? To whom? The kid is the recipient of this action. They received $2, and that means in the sentence, and it doesn't matter, you shouldn't pay attention to the word order in the sentence, because direct object can be expressed, can be followed by indirect or vice versa. Two cases are possible. She didn't tell anything to anyone. She didn't tell anything. Okay, what didn't she tell? In the sentence, anything is direct. And to whom didn't she tell anything? In this case, to whom, the answer of to whom question is indirect object. The next one, will you bring a cup of coffee for me? And for me, you see that in the second sentence, to anyone. And in the third sentence, for me, it shows that prepositions is the, most important factor to find the indirect object in the sentence. And in the sentence, second sentence, to. In the third sentence, for is the main indicator. I can say that main indicator of finding the types of sentence object in the sentence. The second type, the indirect objects of the second type is attached to verbs, adjectives, statives, and sometimes adverbs. It's usually a noun denoting an inanimate object. Inanimate means non-person object. Although it may be a gerund, a gerundial phrase, or complex, or an infinitive complex. When I say infinitive complex, I mean infinitive constructions or clauses. Its semantics varies, but it never denotes the addressee of the action of the governing verb. So it may be called the indirect non-recipient object. The indirect non-recipient objects can only be joined to its head word by only means of prepositions. And that is why the second type, in the first type, as I said, in the first type, for example, this one, he gave the kid $2. As you see in the sentence, we haven't used any preposition, but easily we can find the type of object. And the next type of object is used with is formed by means of preposition, and here you should pay attention. One must always hope for the best. For the best, you see that it is preceded by preposition, and the next one, she isn't happy about her new friend, and about for and about are the most strong, the indicator of finding the types of object in the sentence. The indirect non-recipient object is used mainly with intransitive verbs. It's usually the only object in a sentence. At least other objects are not obligatory. And the last one, the last type of object is the cognate object. Cognate object, I think it's a very, how to say, new term for you, because I think you haven't studied anywhere this type of object. Cognate object is a non-prepositional object which is attached to the otherwise intransitive verbs, and is always expressed by nouns which derive from the same origin. Cognate object means that in the sentences, object and a verb, they should have the same origin. For example, I say that she lived a hard life. For example, she lived a hard life. In this sentence, you know that she lived and life, they are from the same origin, and life is a noun form of to live. And let's go on. And is always expressed by nouns derived from or semantically relate to the root of the governing word. In linguistics, a cognate object is a verb's cognate, verb's object, and that's etymologically related to the verb. More specifically, the verb is one that ordinarily intransitive. It means lacking an object. This is indirect object. For example, she live. We don't need to use any object after it because it is intransitive and it doesn't need any object. And this type of sentences, we use that verb's object. Live a hard life, for example. And cognate object is simply the verb's noun form, as I said before. For example, in the sentence, he slept a troubled sleep. Sleep is the, of course, you see that is the cognate object of the verb slept. Then the verbs that most frequently take a cognate object, you see there are some verbs that they are mostly followed by cognate object, because you know that these verbs have noun form. And for example, to live, its cognate object is alive. To smile, a smile. Laugh, a laugh. To die, a death. You see that, as I said, that cognate objects should be either from the same verb or semantically related to the same verb. For example, to sigh, a sigh. To sleep, a sleep. To dream, a dream. Run, a race. To fight, a fight. A battle, etc. For example, we have some examples. He died the death of a hero. We can use this sentence for all our heroes, all our soldiers, officers during our patriotic war. I think this is very good sentence and very suitable sentence for this type of situations. The next one here, she stopped and sighed a heavy sigh. This is the sentence, sighed a heavy sigh. This is cognate object. One must live one's own life, you know. I think to find the cognate object in the sentence is very easy, because simply you should pay attention to the verb and object. They should have the same, root. Cognate object is always used with words modifying it, never alone. For example, death of a hero, as I said, to die the death of a hero, to die like a hero, it means. To sigh a heavy sigh, it is equal to sigh heavily. In order to change the cognate object, or in order to express this sentence in, in another form, we use these verbs, and we can use adverbs in order to substitute with these objects. Semantically, cognate objects characterize the action expressed by the predicate verb. Nevertheless, they are considered to be objects, not adverbial modifiers, because they are expressed by noun without prepositions, which is not characteristic of adverbial. They might occur in the position of the subject of a passive construction. For example, I say, he never doubted that life should be lived as he lived. In this sentence, you see this is object. That is why we can convert this sentence into a passive form. And at the end, I would like to look through our examples for the last time. For example, I say in English, the construction can occur with a number of intransitive verbs, which then become transitive. For example, he slept a troubled sleep. It means he slept and his sleep was troubled. The next one, he laughed a bitter laugh. It means he laughed bitterly. And he dreamed a strange dream. He dreamed and his dream was very strange, I can say. He walked their walk and talked their talk. It means he walked and talked as they did, as always. He smiled a charming smile. It means he smiled and his smile was very charming. He danced a cheerful dance, and it means he danced and his dance was very cheerful. He died a painful death. It means he died painfully, in a painful, situation. In some of these cases, the cognate object allows for a simpler construction. In others, it may be chosen for idiomatic or rhetorical questions, rhetorical reasons. In general, the cognate object's modifiers are in some sense-modifying verb. For example, he slept a troubled sleep tells how he slept. I think that's enough for our today's lesson. And if you, pay attention, if you listen to my lecture carefully, I think this material will be very useful for you, will be very fruitful for you in order you to understand, you to comprehend the types of objects, and you know syntax is very important part of grammar. And I think it will be very useful for you. See you next lessons. Thank you for your attention.